Frank Barassa was tired. He had spent years working 18-hour days to build a legitimate, successful brake pad manufacturing factory from scratch. He eventually sold it for a profit, but the grind left him burned out and looking for a high-reward shortcut. Every legitimate enterprise runs into the exact same bottleneck, the massive overhead required for customer acquisition. If you sell cars, you need to find people who want cars, which means heavy investments in marketing and sales teams. This diagram shows a traditional business funnel on the left, requiring massive marketing inputs just to capture a few customers. But on the right, you see the demand curve for cash. It is infinite. Currency is the ultimate consumer product because nobody compares prices, nobody reads reviews before accepting a $20 bill, and it requires zero marketing to distribute. Most amateur counterfeiters miss this entirely. They use consumer-grade inkjet printers, print on regular paper, and then try to spend the fake money themselves at local gas stations or retail stores. They operate like street-level criminals. Frank completely abandoned that mindset. He succeeded by treating his felony strictly as an industrial manufacturing and business-to-business scaling problem. Look at this standard US $20 bill. True U.S. currency uses a highly restricted cotton-linen blend that reacts specifically to ultraviolet light. This paper houses embedded security features on the right side, an invisible watermark, and a currency-grade security thread. Amateurs routinely fail to replicate these features when they try bleaching lower denominations to reprint higher values. Frank bypassed this physical limitation entirely. He established a corporate shell company and used it to legally commission custom security paper from a legitimate overseas supplier. He told the supplier his investment group was producing corporate bearer bonds, which are legitimate financial instruments that require high security. Under this guise, he ordered the exact cotton-linen blend with currency-grade UV threads. For the required corporate watermark, he sent them the image file for his founder's portrait. It was the face of Andrew Jackson. The single most illegal component of counterfeiting was acquired completely through legal, white-collar corporate contracts. Frank paid the invoice, and the paper cleared customs without issue. With his raw materials legally imported, Frank moved to physical production. He set up his operations in an undisclosed rented warehouse in rural Quebec. Rather than relying on consumer technology, he sourced and assembled equipment like this: industrial offset lithographic printing presses. This is the exact same heavy-duty machinery used for high-volume newspaper and magazine printing. He locked in his factory floor processes. He reverse-engineered custom chemical inks, ran 24-hour shifts, and bundled uniform $10,000 blocks. By applying rigid factory floor standardization, Frank mass-produced a $250 million inventory of nearly undetectable counterfeit notes. The final and most dangerous bottleneck in counterfeiting is spending the product. Buying things personally at retail locations creates a localized geographic footprint, witness descriptions, and a massive trail of security camera footage. Frank avoided this by pivoting to a B2B distribution model. He decided to sell his product strictly at wholesale volume to organized crime syndicates. This diagram shows his wholesale pricing structure. Frank sold his inventory for roughly 30 cents on the dollar, exchanging $100,000 blocks of counterfeit bills for $30,000 in genuine, clean currency. He conducted handoffs with cartel middlemen and gang members in dark parking garages, but he maintained the exact same calm, reliable, professional demeanor he used to pitch clients for his legitimate brake pad business. By operating strictly as a manufacturer and wholesaler, Frank outsourced the catastrophic retail risk to his criminal clients, protecting himself behind a structural corporate firewall. Back in Washington, federal authorities and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing detected a massive influx of his supernotes across North America, but they were baffled by the sheer scale of the operation and the total lack of a clear street-level origin point. The bills frustrated forensic analysts. As you see in this UV test, the counterfeit 20s successfully passed both the standard paper texture checks and the ultraviolet light authentication used by bank tellers. But a business-to-business model has a systemic weakness. A wholesaler's security relies entirely on the operational security of their clients. When one of Frank's buyers was compromised by law enforcement, it triggered a cascade failure. The buyer led him directly into a sting operation during a parking lot handoff. A SWAT team kicked in his door at 5 a.m., and Frank suddenly faced 60 years in federal prison. Frank's corporate firewall finally collapsed simply because his clients lacked his obsessive risk management. Facing a life sentence, Frank treated his federal prosecution like a high-stakes liquidation. He moved to negotiate a buyout. He held immense leverage. Frank was the sole person on Earth who knew the location of $200 million in unreleased counterfeit inventory, along with the technical printing plates and digital files. This scale shows the ultimate outcome of his plea deal. He traded his intellectual property and his remaining inventory directly to the government. In exchange, Canada agreed to deny his U.S. extradition entirely. His final punishment was 6 weeks of time served and a $1,300 fine for possessing cannabis. He walked out free and quickly pivoted his career to become a highly paid corporate security consultant. Yesterday, Frank was a high-volume criminal. Today, he is a corporate consultant. The skill set required to build an illegal empire and the one required to secure a legitimate bank are essentially identical. The label simply depends on who is paying for the expertise.